I'm Elisa, the Scrappy Wife behind ScrappyWife.com, and today I am getting set up for Camp Wonder. So Camp Wonder is from Illustrated Faith. It is 2 devotional kits, June 2021 and July 2021. I don't know what's still available. I know there are digital copies available over at Illustrated Faith, so I will link things below. I received these 2 kits when I went on a retreat with Kelly Bangs and Paula G for Kelly's design team, and I'm super excited to dive in. And today I'm going to try to use this vintage book to set up my Camp Wonder study. So yes, I am late starting Camp Wonder. I'm going to start like mid-July and probably go July and August, but that's okay. Whenever you have time to work on a project, that is the perfect time to begin. So I'm going to set up my altered book here. This is a vintage book that I picked up in Kansas when I was visiting the whatever craft house, and I'm going to be tearing out some of the papers, but I'll be able to save those and use those for other goodies, other fun things later on. So I'm a little bit nervous that the binding won't hold up, but I guess we'll kind of see what happens as we go. Maybe I'll add a little bit of tape here and there to kind of hold it together, but I will put you guys on fast forward, and I will definitely link everything down below that I end up using. Otherwise, let's go. So this is my first time creating an altered book, and I'm going to go ahead and say that I am hooked. I am all about this altered book. So what I did, I skipped the first couple of pages, and then you tear out pages, and you tear them out based on how thick you're going to have, how much embellishments you're going to have, dimension, things like that, and how many pages you want left in the book. I opted to tear 4 pages out. And once you tear 4 pages out, then you flip over 2 pages, and that's going to create like a pocket area. So you can see I skipped 1. Oh, this is my 4th page. I'm going to tear out this 4th page. They didn't all come out super easily. Turn over 1, 2. I'm trying to make sure I'm getting it all. It took me a little while. You guys, math, not easy. And I just wanted to make sure I was doing it the right way. I had a couple issues where I accidentally tore out the wrong page, and it's okay. You can work with it. I actually found a tutorial online, and I will link it below, that explained how to do this altered book format. These clips really helped me as I was trying to keep pages back. Because this was a vintage book, it was a little bit tricky to get some of the pages out. They were sewn in actually super well, so it was a little tricky. So turn over 1, 2, then I would clip it back down, and then I would tear out 4 more pages. And what the plan is to create pockets. You can see every time I pause, I'm like thinking, I'm doing the math to see if I did it right. So tear out 4 pages, 2, very carefully. They don't have to be perfect tears. You just want it as close as possible. 3 and 4, and then take the clips off, flip over 1, 2, and then clip back on. So that's how I worked through the entire book. I did keep all of those extra pages so that I can use them in crafting. I sped this up a ton because it did take a little while to get it all set up. The binding held out better than I thought it would, so I'm super pumped, and I'm excited to jump in. So Camp Wonder, every year Illustrated Faith does a revival camp in the summer, and it's a devotional series, usually over 2 or 3 months, and this year it's over 2 months, and each member of the Illustrated Faith creative team and design team wrote one devotional, and they came in the form of like cards, and the theme is camp, friendship and camp, and it was kind of put together by 2 of the members of the team, Elaine and Abigail, based on an in-person retreat that they had done. And so I'm excited to jump in. I think friendship is a wonderful topic, and diving into kind of biblical friendship, I think, is an important thing for us to be reminded of. So I can't wait to start reading. So now that I have torn out the pages, what I'm doing is adding glue at the top, the bottom, and then towards the gutter of the page, that in-between part. That's where the torn out little bits are. And what this is doing is two things. It's hiding the torn parts. So it's disguising those areas and cleaning up the look of the book. And secondly, it is creating some big pockets. So like I said, each day of the devotional, I think there's like 15 or 16 maybe, is a card. And so my plan is to stick the card in those pockets. So I have them all glued down. I'm using these clips. I actually picked these up from the Dollar Tree. Super cute pink clips and some binder clips. And I'm using those to hold it together, press it down so that it dries flat and that the pages are pressed together really well. For me, the next step on this altered book is to use a bunch of the papers that I have from the Print and Pray shop. So these are from Shauna Klingerman and Kelly Bangs. They are their camp themed papers, and I'm cutting them down to fit just a little bit smaller than the page size that is in the book. And I'm going to use these to cover up some of the pages of the book, the front and back of each pocket. It's not that I don't like the illustrations and things. Those are super cute. And in fact, I can't wait to use those pages that were torn out. But this will create a more cohesive look inside the book and give me some great places to do some artwork and journaling. The neat thing about the pockets is not only does it hold the devotional, but I can add note cards. I can add all kinds of things to this kind of junk journal styled altered book. Lots of places for writing and things like that. This will give me a kind of uniform look, places to put the artwork on the pages, and I'm super excited. So I'm cutting a ton of these down to size, and then I'm going to take it over to my sewing machine. I am not awesome at sewing. In fact, the only thing I ever sew is paper. So I put this on time lapse. This took me embarrassingly long. I had to change the bobbin and everything, and I actually did it. So yay for me. You'll see a couple of kids come in. You'll see a husband come in. This took me a very long time, but I sewed around each one of those pages because I wanted that little detail to be in my book. And so you can add the sewing before you attach the papers in the book. So adding all of that sewing in, and then I can bring it all in and put my book together. Okay, so I have all my pieces. I sewed around them, usually very crooked, but that's okay. And I'm just gonna glue them down. So I'm using a liquid glue. The reason I chose liquid glue instead of my normal ATG adhesive is that I feel like this will last longer, like it'll be a little bit more sturdy, and I feel like the liquid glue is actually going to add strength to each of the pages. So all I'm doing is gluing these down in place, and the fun part about that is you see a little bit of the vintage page peeking through. You can see how that pocket is going to work. It was a little bit tricky working with the binding, but I got it all figured out. I think it's probably easier to work. You can just pick up a book from like the Dollar Tree. That's what I've seen a lot of people do. And then you can paint the cover. You can do anything you want. I loved this vintage book. To me, it was fun that it was a fun story that I got it at the same time that I was given these devotional kits. I just think it's fun to use the vintage pieces from time to time. I think I paid like $2 maybe for the book. So I'm going to stick all of these pages in, and I had to be really careful that as I put them in, they didn't slide around because again, I was using the liquid adhesive and not the Tombow or my tape gun. So it was a little bit tricky. So I had to be patient, which if you know me is not my forte, and that's okay. Not all the pages also covered the same amount. Just because some were a little wonky, they didn't get cut the same or something like that, but I think it's going to be so fun. You guys, this turned out so cute. I'm so excited to jump in. So I'm going to skip ahead. I'm not going to watch you or make you watch me do all of these, but what I did is put them all in, and then I bound it together with those binder clips and let it dry for a good long time, making sure there wasn't any excess glue like sticking out because I didn't want the pages to get glued together. So gluing all these down, and then we will skip ahead. All right, I totally have my kits pulled out, and I am going to unwrap each of the devotionals. So here you go. They're all put together in cards. This is from June, and you can see I created these pockets, and it fits right in there. So I will stick the devotionals in, and when I'm ready to study, I can just go. I don't think there's a specific order you have to do these in. I think there might be a suggested order on the Illustrated Faith website, but it's kind of whatever order you want. They're all kind of about friendship, and so I can read, I can take notes, and I can do some artwork as I feel led to do. And I think it's a fun way to kind of put these all together. So here are the ones from July. I'm adding those in. I'm not doing any labels or anything yet because I do have a few extra pages and pockets at the back of this book to work with. So if I find that there's one that I want to add some extra study in, some extra notes, do a few tip-ins, things like that, and I need to kind of shift everything backwards, then I will be able to do that pretty easily because I have space to do that. So all of them are in there, and look how full my book is starting to look now. It was super skinny after ripping out all those pages, and now it's time to get to decorating the front, and I'm super pumped to bust into these super cute supplies designed by Kelly Bangs. Look at this adorable little Girl Scout vest, this sash. I think it's so cute. So I'm pumped to to start working on the front, and I'm just going through my ephemera pieces and picking the pieces that I really like. I also have several digital pieces from Kelly Bangs and Shauna Klingerman that I'm looking to figure out how I want to add things to the front to put together a cool look, but not completely cover the vintage cover, which is hard for me. If you know me, I like to use like all the things. That's kind of my style. And I had to hold back a little bit because I did want some of the vintageness to come through. So I have this Camp Wonder title from Shauna Klingerman's printable called Camp Essentials, I believe. So that will go on the front. I printed that on sticker paper. It'll fit on the front. I love the camera. I love the sash, but you'll see I kind of change things up, move things around, and that's how it goes when you're trying to figure out where your paper pieces are going to be. I also got to pick some chipboard pieces. These are actually from Felicity Jane, and I love the little bubble pieces because I'm planning on using a little custom scout that Kelly Bangs made for me. She might even still have some spots available to create custom scouts. If she does, I'll link it below. But there's this little Girl Scout printable that I'm going to cut out here in a second to add on, and I thought it would be so cute if she was like talking and there was a little speech bubble coming out. So I'm playing with that, but you can see everything's starting to get covered up. It was a little bit too much. I just couldn't decide what I wanted to do. So here's my little Girl Scout. I've already taken away the camera. There's my Girl Scout. There's her talking bubble. And you know what? I wanted to leave the come along, like come along to Camp Wonder. And I like the little acetate piece, the dragonfly back there. So I'll leave that on, and the speech bubble and my girl, and we'll just kind of stick with that as our camp thing. I did find trim that'll make its way on later. Now I'm just pulling off the backing for these stickers, and I'm going to scoot it up just a little bit because I love that the bottom says reading for meaning. So it's like, come along to Camp Wonder, reading for meaning, meaning reading your Bible and finding the meaning in it, finding what God has to teach you. I just love that little God wink moment there. So going to use my girl. I'm using liquid glue because it's kind of a fabric-y cover. I thought the liquid glue would hold pretty well. I'm using my finger to spread it out so I can make sure that it's nice and even. And there's my little custom scout all ready for camp. And I'll also use my finger when I add glue to this little dragonfly piece so that it'll be nice and smooth behind. And we will add her little speech bubble. I was going to use another chipboard piece that said my story, but I didn't really think that that fit well, so I actually end up cutting apart a tab that I found in Shauna Klingerman's set, and it says friends. Since the whole basis of Camp Wonder is about friendship, I thought that would be perfect, so I'm going to cut out that little title, and that's what my little girl is going to say. Friends? Friends? Question mark? Friends? Exclamation point? I'm not sure, but she's just telling you what it's about, looking at all the little pieces, trying to decide what I want to include. That's the fun part about putting together a junk journal, is there are so many ways to do things. There's so many ways to like incorporate pieces, like bits and pieces into your journal that you wouldn't normally do in regular journaling. So that's what I'm pretty excited about working in this altered book. In the inside of the book, I wanted to have this postcard from Elaine and Abigail, who kind of coordinated this study with all of the creative team members, and so I'm going to make it kind of a tip-in so I can read the back of the card. There's some gorgeous heart washi that came with one of the months. I'm not sure. At this point, all of my supplies are mixed up, and I think I'm probably not the only one. If you are doing Camp Wonder, then I'm guessing that all of your supplies are all in one big heap like mine. So there's my little tip-in. I have some paper pieces pulled out, and really, you guys, I'm just playing with the pieces right now. I'm trying to get things set up somewhat so that when I dive into the study tomorrow, I have a good basis, a good thing to start with. But I'm not too worried about everything. Like, I'm not too worried about details. I like to add those as I go. So I'm just going to get some main elements in place. I have this little, I love that they have the little card that says, hey, I packed your kit for you. So including that, I didn't cover up the come along with the little name. Look, it says Gordon. Someone wrote their name in this little vintage book. This one belonged to Gordon. I think that's so sweet. On the back of the front page, I am going to add a little bit of decoration and then leave room for an opening prayer, which is something I like to do with devotionals that I am starting, is just a prayer to God, asking Him to open my heart and show me what He has for me to learn in that devotional. And so I usually like to include that at the beginning, and generally I like to have one towards the end, thanking God for everything that He taught me in that devotional and praying over the hands that prepared the devotional. And I think it's just something nice to include in all of your studies. So I'll title it Wow God, and then just leave it blank, and I will journal off camera. I'll be honest, I totally thought I was done after I finished this page and added a little bit of glue right here. But as I was closing the book, I realized that the back of the book also could be decorated. And there were some illustrations that I didn't totally dig, that I didn't want on there. And so I decided I'll just go ahead and add some decoration to the back of the book. I love these huge florals. I wish I had 10,000 of these floral stickers. I'm super glad that there are digitals that you can just print over and over again, which I will be doing. These are the Camp Goodies, I believe, from Kelly Bangs that I used in my faith planner for this week. And now I'm just going to use a few of those girls. Look how cute with her little trumpet. She's one of the worship leaders. So I can use that to cover up that illustration that I wasn't pumped about. And then I'm going to layer on top of it the word hope, which is a word I love to hold on to this year especially. So I'm going to add that on. This is from Shauna's set, and I just like how the sets can mix and match. It's so fun to just play with different pieces and put them all together. So I'll add that on, and then I'll create another little cluster at the top of the page with a different scout leader, camp counselor kind of figure that is sending some happy mail. And I loved that little backpack. Like, get your backpack ready for camp. We're all headed out. And then I'll layer on this girl. I was having trouble getting her off of the sheet. I'm kind of fighting with my sticker paper. I love this new sticker paper I'm using, but I am kind of fighting with it. All right, so I'll move her over here. And I positioned her on the backpack and then added adhesive to the back just because I knew I wanted her at a certain angle, if that makes sense, and the backpack at a certain angle. And then I'm going to add another word, and this time I'm going to go with the word grow. And you guys, this was definitely a project. I worked on it for a really long time. So I think this video is going to end up being just about 20 minutes long. This probably took me well over 2 hours, probably 2.5 to 3 hours to do this book. So it definitely was a time investment, and I had to force myself to stop. Like, I wanted to keep adding details. I wanted to jump in. I was so excited, and I had to be like, no, you got to turn off this video. You got to save some of your supplies and stuff for when you're actually doing the study, which is what I'm excited to jump into. But that's always fun when you get to jump in and you're excited about what you're working on, and it kind of inspires you to dig in. I think that's what these devotionals are great for. So they're inspirational, inspiring you to get into the word. The art is fun. The heart is way more important than the art, but they're definitely connected in a way. And I think that's how God kind of designed us to be. So the last little bit bit I'm adding is using some Fabri-Tac glue, and I'm having a little trouble with it, but I'm going to add a little pom-pom trim because I don't think you can ever have too much pom-pom trim. So some bright yellow just for some extra cheer, and then I will be done with my little book, or at least getting it set up. And now I'm ready to study, to read, and to pray, and then to work on the artwork within the book. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider hitting that subscribe button as well as the bell notification button. I will link supplies down below, so check those out if you're interested. A huge shout out to my YouTube members, my Scrappy YouTube members. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for your monthly support. If you're interested in being a Scrappy YouTube member and finding out about the perks that they receive as members, then make sure to click the join button or check the link below. All right, I hope that you have a fabulous day, and as always, keep it creative.